Hi, all. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Wednesday, October 24th, 2018, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Our topic today, photo and video edits.com for power users. And our guest today, hey, Colin, good to see you.
Hi, Dan.
Always good to see you, Colin, is the founder of photo and video edits.com, Colin Forte. And Colin is also is a Matterport service provider in the greater West Palm Beach area. So he's been on kind of, I call it like a trifecta, because you're actually sold multi-million dollars. I think it was like $150 million in real estate in about 3 years. You started a service provider business out of that expertise from the client standpoint, and then you started photo and video edits.com because you were actually servicing your own business and needed to do all this sourcing of photo and video editing. So we've done, I think, 3 other shows with you. So it's great to have you on the show again.
Thank you, Dan.
So, Colin, I'd like to cover 3 things with you today. First, the demo and discussion of tips for power users of photo and video edits.com. For those who may be newbies at it, we actually do have an entire show that we did with Colin on photo and video edits.com for newbies, 1 show for photo editing, and then we did 1 show for video editing. And then you always had such great tips and advice for members of the community. We did an entire show just on words of wisdom from Colin. So, but the second thing I'd like to cover is photo and video edits.com, that for power users, perhaps of other photo editing outsourcing companies, about why switch. And then the third thing we're going to cover with you, Colin, is to discuss for those that are power editors, so that they're already doing a lot of photo shoots, residential real estate photo shoots, and maybe editing 5 different houses, today or tonight, and turning them around for tomorrow. For those that are really good at editing and love editing, still, why outsource? Because I think we probably have some of those that are tuning into the show as well. But Colin, I think the first thing I'd like to do is we've had so many members of the We Get Around Network Forum community who have shared their experience about using photo and video edits.com. I thought that maybe we'd actually begin there, and I wanted to share some comments, and maybe you can comment on them as well. Let me see if I can bring this window here. So the first is from a member Doloff in the forum. It's actually Stephanie. And Stephanie writes, I have been putting off adding a review here in the We Get Around Network forum for the simple fact that I want this service all to myself. These guys are amazing, so fast, so responsive, and amazing quality photos. I send a couple jobs a day to them, and they are consistent and fast. I have reached out and spoken to Colin a couple times, and he is so responsive and always on the ball. I have only had to request 1 minor change, and once and received all photos back again within the hour. Can't express enough how quick, easy, and great quality I find this service. Thank you, photo and video edits.com. So, Colin, how much did you pay Stephanie for that nice note in the We Get Around Network forum?
Not a penny, actually. It was one of the things, and it'll actually lead me into one of the other questions I know you want to ask me, is the separation of from me to other companies. But so as not to repeat myself when you do come up with that question, but the turnaround time was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that it could be as fast as viably possible. And the turnaround times are going to get longer. The only reason I'm saying that they're going to get a little bit longer is simply because as my business grows, more jobs will come in, and an editor working full time, say 10 hours a day. They're going to have their first job and their last job. And so if you're the first to upload at the end of the day, then your job's going to be the first one on the list. If photographers are coming back and got an early day and they're uploading their photos by 4 or 5 in the afternoon, then of course it's 4 or 5 in the morning. Some of my editors are logged on by 6 a.m. and whatever job is in our system first is what's going to be the first offer to the editor. It's a completely automated system. I had to take the manual person out of assigning a job. The system assigns jobs. I can assign a job manually, but I always said if you want to be big, you have to think big. And so I've had to work everything out. If I've got 200 editors online, how do you distribute 30,000 photos that you've got to edit for, say, that day? So the system had to be an automated one. So if an editor, say, logs on and let's say they can edit 200 photos a day, 300 photos a day, whatever the number is, when they first log on, if there's 10,000 jobs in the system has to be able to go, okay, there's your 300 photos that you can edit for the day. Well, of course, he accepts them and he's going to start on the first job, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, all the way up to the 10th job. And if you're the 10th one in line that's been assigned, then your photos are going to be on the latter end of the 8-hour time frame, 8 to 10 hour turnaround time frame, as opposed to the first job being in the 1 hour to 2 hour time frame. So in all honesty, the turnaround times are so super fast at the moment because it's only a question of, I'm this big, but I'm going to eventually hopefully be this big. So, full disclosure there. Yeah, the turnaround times are absolutely super fast, but my number one goal was still to be the quickest turnaround time. And I believe that if I can get it to about an 8 hour on an average, 7 to 8 hour, I'm still going to be probably the fastest turnaround without an upcharge to that service. So you can pay with other companies more money to get a faster turnaround time, but I didn't want to have that as an upcharge. I wanted to make it something that really made us stand out. Was the turnaround time.
Well, that turnaround time, I think, is also one of the points that another member in the We Get Around Network forum shared. Excuse me. I think I actually want to look at this one first. Metroplex 360 in the We Get Around Network forum. And incidentally, if you're a member of the We Get Around Network forum, you know that Chris Hickman is a rock star, Metroplex 360. He is a frequent contributor to the forum, often helping members. He's got a lot to say. He's professional photographers, a rock star. So when Chris writes something super impressive. So Chris writes, I am a photo and video edits.com only customer. He published some samples of work we're just quickly scrolling through. But Chris writes, a friend joked that it's because I'm the only customer. So here's the thing. If that's true, then I'm getting access to an amazing dashboard experience that is a super easy to set up, upload my photos, set editing preferences, track progress, and download my images from that was made just for me. I'm super excited to have my own photo processing company that no one else uses. I found out about photo and video edits on WGAN, the We Get Around Network forum, and there's an amazing promo going on that means that all of the edits you see above here were free. Yes, I didn't pay a penny for these. I would have gladly, but the insane guy who runs, said probably with endearment, but the insane guy who runs this site is probably a ridiculous promotion, is providing a ridiculous promotion to WGAN. The way I see it, that you're losing money not to try this out. Colin, before I ask you to comment on that, I just want to read yet another note from Chris, because he then did a super large batch. And while his comment's a bit long, I think it's pretty telling. And I know Chris wanted to be on the show today. He's literally on a plane of all things while we're live right now. Chris writes, "Hey guys, I had a really unique home that I shot yesterday. As it wasn't the realtor job and was a home remodel job, I knew I didn't have the same deadlines to meet that I usually do. So I wanted to use this home to try out photoandvideoedits.com. It was, can you see my screen, Colin?
You've frozen on the top of the screen. Just says we get around network with the
Uh,
option
um,
two.
okay, so let me just try and just screen share that one more time, just see if I can get exactly what I'm looking at. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can now.
Okay. So he continues. It was a challenging day with weather as it turned from a blazing hot 106-degree after he's in the greater Dallas area, 106-degree afternoon to a storm. Not what I was expecting, and I was an hour from home, so I was determined to get the images done. I know that photo and video edits do a good job with window masking. I've been invited to test the process capabilities a while back, and I was impressed back then. I'd held off on swapping from my normal provider for image edits as I really like the ability to manage my projects, have team members involved, and have all the benefits of the robust solution. When Dan started to promote photoandvideoedits.com, I was quite curious. It was a big undertaking to run an operation like this, and customer service is a tough thing to nail. You need to provide an excellent user experience, or it doesn't matter how great your product is. I submitted my photos at 3 a.m. last night. That would have been Dallas time. So it would have been 4 a.m. Eastern time. That's the time of night when I realized that it's unrealistic to think that I'm going to get the work done. Usually I get a bit irritated at myself as I realized that I could have outsourced the edits earlier in the day and reduced my delivery time. Oh, well, as I said, it's not a realtor job. Let's see how the process works, right? I'll be short. Making an account was super easy. Setting my preferences, super easy. Little preferences wizard where I picked from 2 images and progressed to visually define my preferences. Once done, I was able to upload again. These super easy. I selected that I wanted to upload bracketed images and drag and dropped the images. An email popped up in my box letting me know that the upload was done, and I went to bed. What I found in the morning was a bit shocking. My images were done and they were perfect. I contacted support and was told that while the guarantee is a 24-hour turnaround, if they get done faster, they are thrilled. So 5-hour turnaround, really? Bill me extra? I was asked, meaning he did not get billed extra and he was surprised. I was asked to click the heart icon on some of my favorites and provide feedback to help train their team as to what my preferences are. I'm finding this hard as the images were perfect. Look, I get it. I love editing images. I hate deadlines, and sometimes getting my images turned into my clients does not fit my schedule. So this has become a necessary service for me to have. What I love is that Photo and Video Edits nailed it without any revision requests and provided me with an easy way to quickly download my images and turn them into my client. With the WGAN special offer, which I'll let Dan reiterate, you'll practically lose money by not doing the trial. So I encourage you guys to check it out. If you do, please post some of the images you get back. Here's a handful of the images. So that was a super nice note that Chris posted in the We Get Around Network forum. So again, in his first email, he talks about he must be the only one and you've designed this service for him. And if he's the only one using it, he's totally happy. So I would imagine that you really love for people to think that they're the only client and they're getting this amazing service and the super fast turnaround.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he was the only person, I'd be, it'd be like tearing up $100 bills every 5 minutes, and that's not the case, obviously. Um, but I mean, we've only been open since June, um, and I'm very, very happy with the amount of. I've actually exceeded the expectations of people that have signed up on an account with us, which I'm very pleased about. Um, our business model of our business model is completely different to there's two US companies that I'm aware of. I don't know, maybe anybody else that knows a US based American. When I say American, I mean American owned and operated. Any of these outsourcing companies, I can't imagine anybody having editors in the United States because it'd just be too expensive to employ US editors versus overseas editors. But
Well,
with
on
that,
top of that, to have them do the work from 6 o'clock at night Eastern time to 9 a.m. Eastern time. So
that
that
would only add,
like
that
a
would only
double
add to
whammy.
that would only add to their salary as well, right? If
Yeah.
you're
So
working the graveyard
certainly
shift.
the advantage of you being a US based company, but having your team on the other side of the clock, on the other side of the world, means that when we as photographers are finishing our day, um, your team is just beginning their day.
Right. And so there's only and if anybody in the forum knows of any others, shoot me an email. I'd love to know who else is actually doing this. But I'm only aware of two companies, and that's Fixer and PhotoUp.net. And my business model is completely different to theirs in the respect of they have employees overseas that work directly for the company. They've got salaries to pay every single week. They've got rent to pay, and they've got internet and a business internet line over. And they both happen to be in the Philippines, funny enough, and they both happen to be in the same city. These other two companies, so I'm sure one got the idea from the other. I'm not quite sure which way around, but anyway, so they have they have high fixed expenses. The internet alone is almost $4,000 a month, believe it or not, for a fiber optic commercial business line. I don't have that because I don't hire employees, I hire subcontractors. So without that expense, that enables me to obviously price less money for the credits. And I believe both of the other companies work on credit base just the same as I do. And another really important factor is the difference in you got an employee mentality and a subcontractor self-employed mentality, as we all know. Not to say that you don't have good employees. Of course, everybody can get good employees, but it's never the same as somebody working for themselves. It generally tends to be a bit more, no one's looking at the 5 o'clock, I'm going home soon, great type of mentality, attitude that an employee may have. Whereas a subcontractor is like, it's another job, it's more money in my pocket, I'm going to work an extra hour or two or three type thing. So you have those two different types of mindsets. And I think that certainly helps and contributes to a bit more care going into what it is that they're editing. We're not perfect. Of course, we're not perfect. No, not everybody's photos are going to come back perfect every single time. Thanks for the shout out there, Chris. But that's just that's not that's never going to happen, of course. But we're here to make them as good as we possibly can for you. So any adjustments that you may need, it's not a problem for us to do them. But I believe that the extra care that goes in because we have a subcontractor that's rather than employee is part of that reason as to why Chris is as happy as what he is, and the other comments that I've received there.
Yeah, I would say that probably all of us in the We Get Around Network Forum community are self-employed. So we get it. That next job is more money to us. It's not more work in a employee sense. So we're always happy when we get the next order because it's money in our pocket. And I would imagine that's the same feeling that your freelance team gets, is they're eager to get more work because it's more money directly in their pocket. So
Absolutely, because if let's say, I haven't had this happen yet, but if it did happen, let's say a particular editor was very sloppy, and they were getting many revision requests, to the point of where somebody gives us a bad review and says, "Hey, I want another editor to edit all of these photos," I've got systems set up in place where I can see, based on feedback, if an editor's not doing what it is that he's supposed to be doing, they're going to be gone. And sorry, you can't subcontract for me anymore. I'm getting too many complaints about your edits. With having subcontractors, I can do that very easy. In the Philippines, especially here in the Philippines, you just can't let somebody go. The employment rules here, if you're not happy with their performance, it's not like in the US. Even in Florida, you can let somebody go without reason or whatever, no problem. See you later, hasta la vista. You can't do that here in the Philippines. It's just not that easy. So you're stuck with somebody if they've got a not good attitude, or they just don't care about the work that they're doing. You just can't do that. It's impossible, actually.
Yeah.
It's
So I think the way that,
a hard process.
yeah. So I think the way that that translates is, I think you mentioned June was your official launch. So that's almost 5 months. Um, uh, as the founder of the forum, I read every post in the We Get Around Network forum. There has not been a negative review about photo and video edits.com in the forum. In fact, every time someone has written about photo and video edits.com, there's been positive comments, and they actually go out of the way to say, and they mention you, Colin, so that, as part of the comments. I think I just want to mention two others and really dive into the topic, but I've been kind of just taken back about, all the, super positive energy that people have for photo and video edits.com and for you. Let me just share one more screen here. This is from Home 3D. Home 3D. Again, another super professional photographer, high end, a photographer's photographer. He writes, "This sounds interesting to watch." And he's referring to an upcoming episode, blah, 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 about Dan and Colin, whose service I am extremely impressed with. After using for about 2 months now, Colin has really helped all of us with photo and video edits.com. The interface is great, provides real-time updates as to the progress of orders, a well-organized dashboard, and an impressive value for the cost. Based on my past work with other services, I encourage others to try Colin's service and listen to his advice. So that's super nice. And then at 3D Views, VUZ, he wrote, I signed up and am very happy so far with everything. And then he goes on in the comments. So anyway, congratulations. You're like an overnight success.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of work that went into it. Before the doors opened, I was very thorough in as much as I possibly could forecast. Maybe some problematic issues and areas, and it's always a work in progress. There's always tweaks and improvements that I'm constantly giving to my developer. I have since. The company that I used in India, which I spent 4 months in India, sitting next to them, making sure that I got exactly what it is that I wanted and needed, and in an expedient, as fast a possible manner as I possibly could. I have
That's in the design and creation of your website, photo and video edits.com.
Yes. Sorry, I should have specified that. I have since hired the developer full-time. So I have a full-time developer specifically for just this website. And because I knew that as I grew exponentially, that if there was an issue with the site, I can't be clambering to contact the company and say, oh, okay, I need this over here fixed, and they go, well, we've got some other work, we can do it for you, in a day or two or three. I was like, well, I can't afford to do that. I need somebody to be on it, as soon as I get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah,
Um,
and I almost kid you a little bit because I say an overnight success, but frankly, this has probably been 10 years in the making, meaning first, as a super successful real estate agent, again, doing, help me out. I want to say 150 million. It was in
yeah, I did 165 million in a 3-year period between.
$165 million in real estate transactions in 3 years. So, and as I recall from visiting with you on some of our other WGAN TV Live at 5 shows, um, you were among the first to use outsource photography,
Yeah,
photos, video, and so over time, while you were not a photo editor or video editor, by outsourcing, you kind of knew what you wanted over time. And then at some point, you kind of made the break and said, I, I'm going to go start my own service provider business because I understand the business from a client's perspective. So I know what the workflow needs to be and the caliber of the work and how to set that up. And I want to say in the course of being a service provider, at some point you realized that you needed to outsource. And therefore you started developing relationships with editors abroad. And so you continuously were solving problems for yourself and
correct.
how a service provider needed a workflow to work um, in outsourcing. So, and then I think when you came to the decision to say, I'm going to go start this business, photo and video edits.com, that was probably just a couple years of deep thinking, even before you hired a developer and began putting the process and procedures in place. So even though you've just been open for 5 months, it's really been a labor of love for about 10 years, solving problems as a real estate agent, solving problems as a service provider, and then knowing exactly how this business needed to run from a client's perspective.
Absolutely, there's no question about that. It's probably one of the reasons that's attributed to such favorable comments, is because I know what it is to be the very, very end client, which is the real estate agent. Um, but I also know what it takes as the photographer, videography side of things. And then knowing both of those things and having this company now, I know what's vitally important to make sure that it keeps happy faces right the way on down the line.
Which is not only important for an occasional person, but it becomes particularly important for a power user that's using your platform to feel like that they can pump a lot of shoots through your platform and have it delivered consistently um, uh, in the manner that they expect it within the time frame that they expect it. So I could imagine. This first half hour of the show has obviously been a love fest for photo and video edits.com, looking at some of the testimonials. But I think we actually should like dive in a little bit that if for those that are power users of photo and video edits.com, is there things that you want to demo to say, hey, you're a power user, here are some of the things that some of the power users are doing, or talk about that?
Yes, yes. There's one that stands out predominantly, which is when they're batch uploading photos from a job. Um, Even though I have instructions for of the process and how it needs to be done, quite often people they don't click on the instruction button, which pops up a video, and watch the video from beginning to end. It's just it's just the way people are on the internet. Um, and but it does create a really huge issue on our end when it happens. And so um, if when I go through this, people can understand that it will actually slow their photos down. It's actually brought our whole system to a halt, um, on the back end, which I, freak out and my hair's sort of pointing out sideways. This, that, eek, oh dear, we've got all these jobs and the system's not working. And it's always turned out to be something to do with what somebody did when they uploaded a bunch of batch photos. We've tried to program some stuff in place so that if that happens again, it just stops that job and not all the other jobs and concertina the other jobs down the road. But even with that said, it's going to slow their job down. And
what's that? What is it that power users should not do? I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you.
Okay, sorry. Batch uploading. So let's say you take shots in brackets of 5. First thing I can to tell everybody is if you've got your camera set to 5, why change it to 3 on a different shot? When you're editing them yourself, I can understand why you want to change it to 3, because then you've only got, for an outside shot, for example, then you've only got 3 shots to look through, because you only really need 3 shots for an outside shot. With us, if you shoot in brackets of 5 on the inside and 3 on the outside, just shoot them all at 5 brackets, because then you can't make the mistake of mixing those bracketed shots when you go to upload a job all together. So you'll say have a property street address, which I'm sure that's how the majority of photographers file their photos, is probably by a folder name on the address, but you'll have a mixture of the brackets inside that folder. So you'll say have mixtures of brackets of 3 shots and mixtures of brackets of 5 shots. You can't upload that as one job to our system, because our system's been designed so that you can even look at your before and after shots, pre-edit, after edit. And if you've mixed 3s with 5s, it can't do that. So that means then you would have to separate them before you uploaded them to us. So it means you would upload 2 street addresses, maybe call it number 1, number 2, and number 1 would be brackets of 5, number 2 would be brackets of 3. That works fine, because it won't mess. It keeps everything in the right place where it needs to be. But I'm saying to you guys, hey, why adjust that button? Leave it on 5, or if it's on 7, leave it on 7. It makes no difference to us. Will it add a little bit more upload time on your end? Sure, but not very much, because most everybody's got high-speed internet access anyway, and it'll actually create less work for you to do in the first place, because you then won't have to separate the batches of 3 versus the batches of 5. So that's probably the biggest one is that right there. Just upload the batches in the same batch, and all is good. All is perfect, actually. I've got as much of systems in place that will pre-warn. For example, let's say I shoot in brackets of 5, and I have 3 photos, small job. That would mean 15 photos in total. So if they upload 16 photos, or try and upload 16 photos, our system will say, okay, well, if it's in brackets of 5, then it should be only divisible by 5, and 16 doesn't go into 5 doesn't go into 16. So it'll flag up and say, hey, you can't do that. Please check your batch and re-upload. But what it won't do, because if you've got 15 and you've got shots of 3 and shots of 5, well, 3 goes into 5, and so does 3 goes into 15, and so does 5 go into 15. So you can still get around that by accident, and we won't know it. And what comes through on our end is like, okay, the editor can't match up the photos, because it's just the way the system works. When they're in batches of 5, the editor sees them on his end, and he sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he uploads the final photo that goes on the end of the 5 bracketed shots. And if you've mixed them, we can no longer do that. And what I've been having to do, and it's extremely time consuming, but I've been having to basically go in, log into the agent's account. I have to download the photos first, the zip file that's created from when he uploads, download them to my computer first. And then I have to re-upload them into separate jobs and then reassign them to the editor that that it was issued to. It's a very, very time consuming nightmare. I don't want to just reject the job back to the photographer, and he wakes up the next day and says, "Oh, job rejected," even though it was the reason was because of their mistake in the first place. It's still not something that I want to point fingers at and say, "Well, sorry, it wasn't our issue. It was your." I don't want
That's
to
a
do that.
great tip. You're doing the magic in the background, and that's cool. You just before we move on, you mentioned that um, you could understand how a photographer might do 5 or 7 inside bracketed and 3 outside. Um, Obviously, it creates a little bit of kerfuffle in the upload process. Photographer can deal with it by doing 2 separate batches, but is is there a reason that you could imagine of why somebody would want to switch to bracket 3 outside and do 5 or 7 inside? Is it they just assume, well, that's how they do it when they edit, and it's less.
Well, if they're editing them themselves, then they've got less photos to look at. With an outside shot, with the inside,
Yeah.
if you're pointing towards a window, then you may need, if your camera, if your camera, um, and by the way, we can work on 3 shots, if that's all your camera takes or that's all you want to shoot. We've had some people upload 9. 9 is overkill. It really is total overkill. And plus, also, your storage charges are going to get much higher if you've got 9 shots and you've got 23 megapixels per raw photo. Or we've even had some that have been 35 megapixels per photo with 7 shots. I mean, that's like
Okay.
200.
So we understand what's happening is photographers trying to say, well, if I was editing it myself, it would be less. So maybe it's easier for photo and video edits.com if I do 3 bracketed rather than 5 or 7. So anyway, the tip here is please just use the same bracket for that entire job. It's
Exactly, you're
the
on
same.
themselves in the first place, because then
Yeah.
they haven't even got to move the camera. They just go around the property,
Yep.
just push the shutter, get the angle set up and push the shutter button, and that's it. They're done. Then
All
they
right.
can never mistake, and then they don't have to sort them either into brackets of 3 or brackets of 5.
All
You
right.
know, it's,
So that's tip one.
yeah.
What's the next tip for a power user?
Um, get in the habit of when you're done at the end of the day. I know it's easy to get distracted. Oh, well, I'll go out to dinner first, then you get home, and then it gets later, and then I've got to upload the photos, and it's 11 or 12 o'clock at night. It's fine right now, but eventually you're going to be on the latter end of the turnaround time and not the earlier end of the turnaround time. So with my photographer hat on, the way my guys are set up is that in actual fact, the way my guys are set up on the photographer end of things is when we schedule appointments, we give them 10 minutes so that they can sort their photos and put them on their laptop. So that when they get home, they're already in the folders on their laptop. All they've basically got to do is drag and drop, and that's it. They're done. So the process, because when you get home at the end of the day as a photographer, you kind of would like to put your feet up and have your dinner and forget work until the next day. Now these are guys that subcontractors for me for home takes, but no different to a subcontractor photographer anyway. So the best advice I can give you there is try not to procrastinate it when you get back at the end of the day before you start uploading the photos, because your day can end much quicker, and you can enjoy the time with your family and friends, or whatever your case may be, and not think about taking another photo till you wake up the next day or anything to do with the job. So try and do your uploads rather when you get back from your day's shoot. So whether it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock when you get back to your house, try and do them then. It will mentally, for your own good, put your mind at ease and to rest that you're done for the day. Because I often wonder, when I see an upload come in at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., I'm like, okay, well, the photographer's still up. It's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., uh, on your side of the world, if you're on the East Coast. you know, why? Why are you not sleeping? Is part of the reason, right? That you can get back some time for yourself. And so that's just some advice from a photographer standpoint, hat on, rather than my photo and video edits. It makes no difference to us, as far as, being able to get the job edited. But I'm just thinking about you guys on your end. Part of
Yeah.
the reason is to make your day shorter.
I know that's something that Metroplex 360 wrote about. Chris Hickman wrote about in the forum, which was by the time he got mentally, he was uploading a job at 3 or 4 in the morning that frankly was done probably at 6 in the evening. And so what happened for 6 hours? And he even said, "Oh, I should have I should have uploaded it earlier. I would have gotten it." And he was pleasantly surprised, obviously, that the job was still ready when he woke up in the morning, and maybe a little bit in these earlier days, 5 months into photo and video edits.com, that still perhaps might be the case, but don't plan on that. Get your job in early so that it gets back as soon as possible. I just have to follow up on that. If I upload a job at 2 in the afternoon, maybe I've done photographers done 2 or 3 jobs in the morning, and at lunchtime stopped back at the house and upload, and then in the evening do a couple more jobs in the afternoon, and then upload in the evening. Are all those jobs going to be in the evening be tied back to my start time of I got you my first job at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then my other jobs are I don't know how to ask that question, but you badly said you probably know where I'm going.
No, I know. I hear what you're asking, actually. So yeah, let's say you upload at, say, 3 a.m. in the morning, like Chris did. It's 3 p.m. here. I still got editors working at 3 p.m. So the job gets worked on. Depends how many other jobs that they may have. Depends what point in the editor line queue. I say line queue, line for Americans, queue for anybody else, European or Australia. It has got a job. So, if maybe the system allocates somebody that doesn't have any jobs on, and it's their first job that they got to work on, then it'll get worked on as soon as the job's assigned by the system.
Let me ask the question a little bit differently. If I'm going to do 5 jobs in a day, should I upload all 5 jobs at one time, or should I upload some after lunch and then upload?
No, do them all at once. No, do them all at once. I mean, our system is set up whereas you can add multiple addresses to your upload. So, let's say you've got 5, you'll enter 5, it'll ask you how many properties.
That's not the question I'm asking, though. I understand that we can batch upload 5 jobs, 6 jobs at the same time. I understand that the batch feature, but what I'm wondering is there an advantage to uploading some jobs at lunchtime and then some jobs at night, or better to put all the jobs together in one batch, hold them to the end of my day? Does that mean that one editor will work on all my work? Does I don't speed up the queue by getting one job in earlier in the day, and then that editor sees that I have more work coming in and it's assigned to me as an editor? Is there any advantage to splitting up?
The advantage is that if you do let's say you step home to eat some lunch, and you've been out doing some morning shoots, and then you've got some afternoon shoots. When you get home from lunch, upload that job, because that job's going to get it's going to get edited and turned around and get put in the line first. And then when you get back later on in the evening, upload those jobs. Because you should get the first job back quicker than
first in, first out.
First in, first out. That's how the system has been set up and designed.
Okay.
It's first in, first out.
Sorry, I made that so complex. How do jobs come back? First in, first out.
First in, first out. Yep, that's exactly how the system is set up. And even to the point of on the editor's side, it was a really complex thing of how to get the jobs distributed on on an automated basis and in a fair manner, and to the editors that were logged into the system at the time. Um, uh, Very, very complex. Even to come up with the idea of how we're going to do it, forget programming it.
Well,
But
we'll call that magic. We won't ask you about the back end of how you do it. We're just that it's magic. I've heard 3 tips for power users so far. What else you got?
Okay, so obviously photography is subjective. Overall, most of us can agree, they like whites, bright, and whatnot. But you do occasionally have somebody that doesn't like that look, and they want something that's not so white and bright with the ceilings, and maybe they want some shadows and whatnot. We're here to give you what you want, not to dictate, well, why do you like it like that? It's 90% of the photographers like it like this. It's not our place to say so. Our place is to give you what it is that you like. And the very, very best way, and this has been somewhat of a learning point from me on my end, that you can try and forecast as much as you want with the issues, but until you're actually up and running, you don't know exactly how it's going to work. And so what I found, in order to get as close to what the photographer wants in their edit, is the best way is if we've edited a photo and it comes back and they're looking at it going, well, I really kind of want this area here tweaked and this area here tweaked. Edit the photo yourself, make the tweaks and just how you like it, and then screenshot what we've done for you versus what you've done, and annotate with red arrow markers the areas that we've done and you versus you've done. Put a number next to them, and in the notes section of your photo preferences, number 1 for that arrow, number 2 for this arrow, number 3. In the notes section, put number 1, and then make your comment and make your note. Because a picture paints 1,000 words, and there's nothing more easier than for the editor, when he goes to edit your photos, he has to look at your photo preferences before he can download that job. I'm set the system up that way so that it forces them to review the photo preference photos. And when he can see that, hey, this is the photo that we've edited for him in the past, and this is what he prefers and likes, then he knows exactly what to do to that edit to make it to what the customer likes. That's the very, very best way to get the photos back as close to how you like them. It's really not too much of an issue, because most photographers kind of like, the brighter, the white. If the ceiling's white, they want to see it white and as bright as it possibly can be, per se. But you've got the odd one or two that doesn't want that.
Do you find that you're most successful in having the fewest requests for returns when a
Yes.
photographer comments profusely about this is the way it came back, but this is the way I like it? And if that's in the comment section, then going forward, the likelihood of you not having to turn it around a second time and the photographer being happy on the first go around is going to be successful.
Yeah. First of all, we don't get too many requested adjustments in the first place. I've been told by some of the customers that used either Photo Up or Fixer, that we're definitely more consistent with getting the photos back the way they like them, with less requests. So, and I attribute that to the difference between an employee and a subcontractor as the primary reason for that. But even so, if you want to see something that's not to your liking, then the easiest way is to do a side-by-side shot, what we've done, what you've done, and point it out with annotations. And then that way, we're trying to alleviate as much as we possibly can. Again, when nobody's perfect, you might get the odd one or two, but the adjustment request process is such a simple process anyway. And by the way, let me just let me just explain something to everybody. You can still download the photos even if you want to make an adjustment request. So don't think that you can't download the photos, or if you do download the photos, you can no longer make an adjustment request after that point. You can make adjustment requests for up to 7 days after the job comes back to you. Okay, so after that 7-day period, then you're out of luck. If you want 30 photos redone or adjusted, you have to upload it as a new job. But we give you a 7-day window, which I think we give you the longest window there. I think PhotoUp gives you, they had 3 days, 4 days, and 5 days on their website in different areas, but we give you a week, basically 7 days to make any. But it doesn't happen because we rarely get anybody ask for us for an adjustment 5 or 6 days into the job anyway, because they've got to get back to their customer as quickly as possible. So that this doesn't happen anyway. But our job goes from order ready, and it automatically goes into completed after 7 days. It's an automated process. We can't force it to go from order ready to completed. But that's just the schematics of the way the system's designed and built. So if anybody was wondering, well, what's the difference between order ready and completed? The only difference is after 7 days have passed, the job is now considered completed from the editor standpoint, because the editor doesn't get paid for that edit until the job's marked as completed. So because there's a 7-day window there between it being ready and being marked as completed. But there was something else actually.
Was it related to comments, or was it another power user?
No, it was another thing. It'll come back to me.
Okay. Well, do you have other tips for power users of photo and video edits.com?
There's actually another tip for a power user. What was it? It'll come to me, I'm sure, in a moment, but I'll blurt it out when I think of it.
Okay. But are there other power user tips for clients of photo and video edits.com?
That's what I'm saying. There was another one on the tip of my tongue, and I forgot what it is. But as soon as I remember it, I'll blurt it out.
Which is fine. Okay, so let's move on to the topic. And so, incidentally, I counted 5 power user tips for photo and video edits.com. First is to keep your bracket consistent, whether it's 3, 5, 7. As long as you keep all your shots with the same brackets and identify how many brackets you did when you upload your in like Flint. Second is don't procrastinate. As you have the jobs available, upload. It's first in, first out. The third, I guess I counted those as 2. First is don't procrastinate. Don't wait till it's after dinner or midnight or whatever. Get your job in as soon as you possibly can. Third was the first in, first out. So if you can, at lunchtime, get a couple jobs upload them. Fourth, related to kind of subjective of how images look. So if you have a palette of how you like things, you gotta communicate that. So if you note those in comments, this is what it came back as, but here's what I want it to look like.
Right.
The more you can document, the more images you can share your love of what you like or don't like.
Document. You got to document them by photo, because a feature that I'm going to eventually put in place is, I was asked, I can't remember who it was asked me now, but it was about making comments, notes, and quite often I think it's just the human nature for, visually we'll look at something and get so much information from it in a split second. When you have to read it, it takes time to read it. And so it's much easier to visually see something first and then read comments about what it is you've visually seen. So it is ultra important to do the before the shot that we did and your edited shot and point out those differences. That's going to get you closest to the result that you're looking for if you specifically are wanting something that's not quite what the majority of people want. Again, and I honestly say this with my photography hat on. If you are doing that, you're probably being a little more fussy than you need to be, because 9 out of 10 of your customers are not going to see the differences, between a great picture and an absolutely what you consider, and I say you consider, a perfect picture, because it's still subjective, photography. So
I want to steal something that you said in a previous show. If I paraphrase you incorrectly, please correct me. But I could imagine that if a photographer submits a batch and the entire batch doesn't come back exactly the way the photographer likes it, that the photographer might just send off that batch to the client even while they've requested the new batch, and see how many times that the client pushes back. Because frankly, the most real estate agents couldn't possibly tell the difference between the bright white and the subtle shadow change. And
yep,
therefore, we all may be spending way too much time trying to tweak stuff when it is certainly good enough for the client, and rather than constantly kind of pushing to get exactly. It's not to say that you wouldn't do it. It's just that it just maybe it's perfectly fine how it came back, and you send it off to the client. And if you want to make notes for the next batch, fine, but you could still request the next batch. I think your point was if the client pushed back, so, well, sorry, I was in the midst of having it edited. I sent you an early batch to keep you moving, but I'll swap out the new batch when it comes in. And probably 9 out of 10 times, the client is never even, it's not that they're not happy and not saying anything. They just couldn't tell the subtle difference.
correct. And that is absolutely spot on. There's no doubt about it. And again, I can talk from experience with my home takes, because my photographers, they don't get to see the photos that they've shot, that they've shot. They don't get to see them after they've been edited. None of them. I mean, unless they ask, hey, can you send me the link to the photo? But they've been doing it for years, and they've got no need to want to ask that. But every now and then I'll send them a link and say, hey, these are the photos that you've been editing for the last 6 months, if you want to take a look at them. But none of them, they don't see the photos, so they're not there to say, oh, the color of that floor wasn't quite the same shade of wood that it was when I was out on the shoot. It's slightly lighter or it's slightly darker or whatever. They don't get to see that. And I can attest that when the customers get them, I'm not getting that feedback from the customer to say, well, that doesn't quite look exactly the same as what it does in person. They just don't. And on the rare occasion when maybe they would point out something that, that maybe not be quite the right color, they'll say, hey, this is more purple than it is orange or whatever. Hey, no problem, we'll get it fixed. And they're happy as long as you keep the client happy, and say no problem, we'll get it fixed. Well, then you'll be able to move on much faster with much less stress and over like what you think that should be done before the customer gets it back. 9 out of 10 times. No, it's not 9 out of 10 times. It's 9,999 times out of 10,000 that really that ever happens.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on subjective art versus science. Given that it is subjective, and you could ask 10 different photographers their thoughts on pictures, but frankly, at the end of the day, you have to kind of take your artist hat off and put your business hat on and say, why am I wasting all my time and all this workflow when the client's perfectly happy? Let me just send off the pictures and, maybe I can figure out how to do more shoots with all that extra time that I have of not going back and forth and continuously to either whether I'm editing the pictures myself or outsourcing the pictures and giving
Yeah,
directions.
I mean, there is occasion. I mean, there is the occasion because I get to see and I get to look. Excuse me. A couple of weeks ago, an editor put a requested adjustment in and said, "Hey, the wall tile is more mauve in color, mauve." Um, and I looked at the photo and it had been edited. It was more of a grayish color in the edit. So, but I can also see the bracketed shots that were used. And from looking at the bracketed shots, I couldn't tell what color the tile was because they were more on the darker side. So there wasn't a lighter shot in there for you to actually identify what that color was that the editor was going to be editing. So, but it wasn't a problem. They just said, hey, these are more mauve than they are orange or gray or whatever it was. And, they got adjusted and the color got sent back and readjusted and that was it. It was taken care of. So, because then that was obviously something that probably their customer would have pointed out, hey, these tiles are not gray, they're mauve, and the shots showing them as gray. But that's not a question of maybe some little more shadows in this, or I want you took out too much shadow, or you've put the shadows up too much versus it not, and you're looking and going, wow, I really can't hardly see the difference.
Yeah, I think the point is, the end of the day, the client wants it changed. You'll change it. It's not a big deal. You do changes. The good news is you seem to be at the point where you don't get a lot of requests for change because your photo editors, um, uh, since they're not employees, where maybe it just creates more work and I get paid more or something for time. It's like your photo people, they get it. They want to close out the job as quick as possible, so they want to have people be happy on the first pass and
Yes,
be done.
yeah, and be done. And
All
you'll
right.
impress them so much more by getting the photos back quicker. Even if there's going to be even if they say something and want one of them adjusted, which of course you're going to do for them, rather than to sit there, hold them back from sending them out, and then putting an adjustment request in with us. Oh, so that's something else, by the way. Yes, it was a different point. For power users, um, the earlier that you get your photos in at the end of the day and you get, say, the photos back from us and there's an adjustment request on one of them, if you do that at the end of the day, then the editor's going to be probably off of his shift and that adjustment won't get done until he comes back on his shift the next day. So just be aware of that fact that if you upload them earlier and you've got an adjustment request, there's a good chance that he's still going to be on shift and be able to make that adjustment request pretty quick. We don't really get that many in the first place. We really don't. But we're here I'm here on the show today to point out anything that may make their experience a bit better for them, and that may not. I've not had anybody complain about the turnaround time on adjustments, but I just wanted to point that out that the earlier you get the photos in, then the more chance that you've got that same editor still on shift. And I say on shift because they're subcontractors. I mean, I've got a guy that, boy, I think he works as many hours as what I do. I can send him a job 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and he's on shift next morning 6 a.m. And you can't get that out of an employee. You just can't. And you wouldn't even try and get that out of an employee. So I want to make that straight first of all. It's like you can't work employees that hard. I mean, there'd be you just couldn't.
And I imagine you actually end up paying your freelancers more than what they would earn as
They get more money for what they do than what the other guys do on their salary. They get a lot more money.
And let's talk about the other guy. So this kind of leads us into the kind of the second big topic for today's show is maybe to discuss why switch to photo and video edits.com from another outsourcing service.
Well, there's two answers to that. Our pricing, we're less expensive than Fixer and Photo Up right out the gate, and our turnaround time. And that's it in a nutshell, basically. Those two areas right there, we can't be beat, and we can never be beat on pricing because of that, the way the business model is set up. So, I don't have a $4,000 a month internet, and I pass that on to my customers by keeping my prices lower. So
let's talk a little bit on pricing. I think it's easy enough to say, just go to your website. There's a little calculator, enter in the number of pictures you do typically in a month, and it'll tell you how many credits you need to buy. So it's pretty straightforward. I want to say that you can buy credits at a huge, large volume at about 75 cents US. You So depending on, are you a power user or are you a power user, you could be in that range of as low as 75 cents per image based on how many credits you're buying at any one time. And then up depending on, again, how many credits you're buying. But the thing that keeps sticking in my mind is one of those things that you've talked about in the past. Maybe you could talk a little bit about this. Okay, I've decided to buy 5,000 credits. I've used 3,000 credits this month. What happens to the 2,000 credits that I have in my account?
they roll over. 100% of the credits roll over.
And how does that compare to the other services?
I'm not quite aware what Fixer does in terms of the next month. I think out of all three of us, Fixer is the most expensive, followed by Photo Up. But it's harder to work out what Photo Up is compared to us because they take 80% of the credits if you don't use them. Only 20% of the credits roll over onto the next month, and 80% you could wave goodbye to them. So if you had 1,000 credits at the end of the month, you're only going to get 200 credits roll over to the next month, and that's it.
Which is really, yeah, but never mind the background in terms of the cost of running the business from the photographer's standpoint, that if you lay out $1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 and you don't end up using it in a month, $500 in a month. If you don't end up using it, it rolls over to the next month.
Correct.
And you can reset how many credits that you want to buy going forward. So I guess you could put in, if you wanted, $5,000 and then set your subscription essentially to 10 credits a month until you've caught up again with that 5,000.
Yeah, you can change it. I mean, at any time in the month you can change it, and the following month will be set. And so if you expire out of credits, then you'll be buying them at whatever it's set at for that particular month. But yeah, I mean, let's say you got a team of people and you're purchasing the 4,800 credits it takes to get it at the 75 cents. Okay, well, as with real estate, you just don't know how busy you're going to be, which also means you don't know how busy you're going to be as a photographer. So you're going to have slower months versus faster months. So let's say let's say you're buying 5,000 credits a month, because you average over the course of a year, say, 4,800, 4,900. So, but then you have a slow month and you only have 3,000 credits. Well, you can choose to change your plan down to 3,000 credits, because the 3 plus the 2 that rolled over is 5, or you may just stay on 5, and then if you have another slow month, you've got 4,000 credits. Then you go, okay, well, I don't want to buy another 5,000 because I've already got 4,000, so I'll just switch my plan to 1,000 credits, and then so you're only buying 1,000 credits plus the 4,000. You got your 5,000 right there, and you have a 5,000 credit month, or you can see you're having that, so you go, okay, let me switch that back up to a 5,000 credit month, so that next month I'm still getting the 5,000 because I've used up all the other 4,000. I've made it very, very changeable and easy, because you will shoot different amounts of photos depending on what month of the year on an average basis, depending on what area of the country you're in, of course. Up north, I believe it's slower because it's winter, but down south in Florida, you do more business in the winter months in Florida, in South Florida, than you would do in, say, Jersey in the winter. I think so. If anybody wants to correct me there.
Yeah, I just wanted to show how easy this is. Photo and video edits.com. If I scroll down here and I say let's just put in 5,000. I want 5,000 credits. That's where that monthly plan came out to $37.50 a month, with the cost per photo at 75 cents each. And just to put in another amount, just to give an example and calculate, that's an example where 1,000 credits, the monthly plan is $1,030, and the cost per photo is $1.03. So you can go play with that calculator to figure out exactly what you want. So there's no, I think maybe a little bit different. There's no tiers. You can actually buy exactly the number of credits.
Buy whatever it is that you think you're going to need, and there's no tiers, correct?
No tiers, rollover. So I know you said there's two major differences, pricing and turnaround time. Within pricing, there's no tiers, 100% rolls over. Anything else within the pricing that's a little bit different to understand?
No.
Straightforward. No tiers. Everything rolls over.
Correct. Yeah.
And then in terms of turnaround time, I want to say that photo and video edits.com promises your guarantee is 24-hour turnaround. Yeah. And in the first 5 months or so, I think some of the photographers have been experiencing they upload the pictures in the evening, and even in Chris's case, when he said 3 in the morning, when he woke up in the morning, the images were ready. So not something that you want to guarantee, but it is something that presently that people are experiencing, that you upload the pictures at night and they're ready in the next morning.
Correct. Yep. That's I have rules that the subcontractor editors have to adhere to, and one of them is when they accept a job, they have to finish that job. They can't get off a shift and then think, okay, well, I'll do it in 8 hours time. You don't accept a job unless you can work on it on that shift.
Don't Uber drivers do that? They take you halfway and then tell you that they have to, sorry, my shift's over, and they just ask you to leave the cab or something, the car.
I don't know. I guess we've all seen some of the stories.
No, if you're going to pick somebody up, you're going to take them to their destination. If you're going to take on a photo editing job, you're going to complete the job. You're not going to leave it. Sorry, my shift ended. I'll pick it up in the morning.
Well, and again, that's it's one of the. I'm sure that's probably one of the ways that it works at the other companies, because you've got employees. So if he starts on a job at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and he's off shift at 5. Then he'll do so many photos, and the next day he'll do the rest of them when he comes in. Not so with us. If he accepts a job, he has to do that. He has to edit that job and finish that job on that shift. End of story. So, matter of fact, he's not even allowed to accept a job. Let's say he logs on at 7 o'clock in the morning, and he gets assigned a job, and that's the only job that he gets assigned. He can't log in and accept that job, and then so that he's got that job, and then go off and do whatever it is that he's doing and come back to that job 4 or 5 hours later. Now, if the customer gets that job back 4 or 5 hours later, they're still going to be very, very happy, right? But my policy is, no, you can't do that. If you are not ready to work on that job the minute you accept that job, then you don't accept that job. Because I want our turnaround time to be maintained at the fastest possible time that it can be turned around. So there's going to come a time where I'm going to be publishing the turnaround times that we average on a monthly basis on our website. But I need to wait for my customer database to get bigger so that it can be more realistic than what it is right now. Because as I said earlier on, you know, if a editor comes on shift, then he gets assigned 10 jobs, then the 10th job that he gets assigned is going to be the last one that he's going to edit. And if he's working an 8-10 hour day, then it's the turnaround time on that last job isn't going to be until 8 to 10 hours. But once I feel that we're reaching a point whereas I can then publish the turnaround time, what it's averaged that month on the website, people will actually be able to see what the turnaround time is, you know, because that's a big thing, and we don't charge any extra for that. So,
Is there an option to pay more to get it guaranteed?
no, I don't think. I think it should be done as fast as viably possible. I don't see why anybody should charge more money.
Other services charge more money for
yes.
rush.
Yeah, but yes, there. I think, and it depends on what. There are some companies that that have a 8 hour, I believe, and a 12 hour tier. So they'll guarantee turnaround time within 8 hours. That's one price. 12 hours is another price, or standard is that 24 hours. You know, my goal is to have our turnaround time at 8 hours or less as standard with no cost option. It's not it's not an option.
So that's fantastic. So I think what I'm hearing in terms of turnaround time, good news and good news. First, the good news is the again, not guaranteed, but the present turnaround time is upload the job at the end of your day, 6 o'clock at night in the United States. And when you wake up in the morning, the job is typically going to be ready for you.
Correct. Now, this next piece of advice is going to be coming with my home takes tour company hat on to the photographers, power users, anybody else that's listening. Do not send them to your customer the same day. I have read on lots of forums that photographers are bragging, oh yeah, I get my customer, I try and get my customers back the first day. The difference is when especially with real estate agents, they're going to start expecting them back the first day. And when you can't always deliver that, now you've set yourself up for disappointment for them, and I've always lived by the premise, under promise and over deliver, but there's a limitation on that when it comes to real estate agents, because if you start delivering those photos on the same day, then they're going to expect them on the same day, because they're going to say, well, you sent them to me last time and the time before that and the time before that on the same day. How come you didn't send them to me on the same day this time?
Well, I could ask the same question of photo and video edits .com. I could say, well, hey, Colin, you've been delivering all your images, within 8 hours. You promised 24 hours, but frankly, you've been delivering every day consistently for under 8 hours. You just missed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be better off delivering your job in 24 hours rather than 8 hours?
Well, but I want to separate myself differently from the other companies. And photographers are not like real estate agents. Real estate agents are a group unto themselves. And every photographer that's looking at this video right now or looking live right now is going to know exactly what I mean when I say that.
Got it. So the good news is good news, and there's good news. The first good news is your turnaround time presently is typically under 8 hours, and then second, your goal is to have that kind of turnaround even at scale in a super large a business that you have for your vision. That's just we don't charge extra for that. That's how we deliver, because we know that photographers want to upload the pictures at the end of their day and wake up in the morning and have the pictures ready.
Exactly. We want them to know and have that peace of mind that when they wake up, that they're there and they're done and they're finished, as opposed to, let's say as Chris pointed out, he did not expect them to be back when he woke up the next day, because he didn't upload them until late. Well, that's probably what would have happened unless you'd paid extra money for the service with photo up. That probably would have happened there. He would not have got the pictures back. um, the next morning when he woke up, they may have been in his inbox in the afternoon at 3 p.m., 12 hours later, but not when he woke up in the morning. So that's the takeaway for it is the next day, the next morning.
I'm going to propose a third benefit, perhaps, for why switch from photo and video edits.com. Certainly, at least for the moment, if there's a problem or question, you're super accessible. You're the owner of the business, and you're taking emails, you're talking to people, and I think that's something that's come out in the We Get Around Network forum, is that when people have given shout outs to photo and video edits.com, at that same moment, they always talk about that they've had an opportunity to interact with you, and they've just been super happy. I think if you have a choice between talking to the owner of the business or talking to someone who doesn't own the business, we'd all rather talk to the person that owns the business.
Yeah, of course, and that and I don't want to say I'm always going to be accessible, because obviously when I get to a point whereas I'm too busy, I can't be the one that's responding to a customer support question or whatnot. I can absolutely 100% assure you of this, that in as far as the customer support, that will always be something from first English speaking language person. So whether it's another Brit doing it from England, or an American in America, or wherever, it will be a first language English American, because that's paramount when it comes to customer support of being at its very, very best. There's no question about that. Cool. And I won't hire anybody that's not of the mindset of customer service, number one. So, when I hopefully have got, 1,000 paying customers, and I'm busy doing whatever else is on my calendar, that customer support, because I know that everything in any business is only as good as what you can give as far as customer service is concerned.
Mm-hmm. All right, so terrific. At least for the moment, Colin's pretty accessible. And then the third thing I'd really like to cover in today's show is discuss why outsourcing photos and video editing. So here's the scenario. I go out and shoot 5 jobs, 6 jobs, and then I come home and I edit through the night to get the pictures ready for the next day. This is not me, but I'm talking about a member of the community I've talked with at length. I'm a great editor, and I love editing pictures. So I do a ton of photo editing. Why should I even think about outsourcing?
Well, if you're doing that, then you've probably not got too much of a life to yourself, because we all know that the editing side of things takes as much time, if not more time, than the shoot side of things. So, if you're busy, because we all go to work to make money, and as much of it as we possibly can within a reasonable time frame, I'm sure, that reasonable time frame, for a self-employed person, is between 9 and 10 hours a day at least, because you're self-employed. But do you really want to be working 17, 18-hour days? Because you had a busy day shooting from, say, 9 to 5, and that's 8 hours, and then you've got another 8 hours of editing. So, and that's assuming the minute you walk through the door, and as you're eating your dinner by the side of your computer, and working on the photos, you add another 8 hours to 5 o'clock, and then that puts you at 2 a.m.
But no one will edit pictures as good as I do.
No, they won't. But then they don't need to be as good as what you do. And again, it's subjective, right? Because what you think is the best, well, somebody else may not think it's the best anyway. So it only has to be good enough to pass the real estate agent's eyes, per se. And even then, what one real estate agent likes, another one doesn't like. And I know that from just being in the business of the tour business. It's like, one real estate agent likes this angle taken from this side of the room. Another one might like a completely different angle. You just give the customer, as far as a real estate agent, fine. It's not going to be the same.
This Matterport service provider also added that I like to get my pictures to the client same day.
Yeah, well, I think that's, again, I can talk as a real estate tour provider. You're setting yourself up for failure, or you're setting yourself up to work those 18-hour days every day, because now you're saying, oh, if I don't get them back to them before midnight, they're gonna be disappointed with me. So, and there's no reason, and again, from the real estate agent's perspective, because I can talk as a real estate agent perspective, that you wouldn't want to say to your client, hey, I'm going to get the photos back to you the very, very same day, because that expectation, if the shoot's done at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you've got to get them back to the real estate agent. Let's say you get them back at the real estate agent at 8 o'clock in the evening, and the real estate agent is going to be sending them to his client. Say, oh yeah, look, I impressed you. Then the client's going to be impressed just to get the photos back the next day. They're not going to expect them to be back the same day. So, why set yourself up for failure? There's absolutely no need for it whatsoever. Same day on photo turnaround time in regard to real estate photography. There's no need for it. You're only setting yourself up for failure to do that. And I'm sure there's a lot of naysayers looking at me going, well, I don't think so. I disagree with you. Of course, we're all open to our opinion, but in my experience as an agent and as a tour provider, there's absolutely no need to try and get the photos back on the same day. And you may say, well, I'm trying to beat my competitors out, but that's going to come at a price to you for when you do fall short of that. And in terms of how many hours you're going to work every single day. We're not, on my home takes tour business, we don't shoot Saturday on Sundays. Ever do we shoot on a Saturday or Sunday. Not Sundays, but we don't shoot on Saturdays either. And some of my competitors, they'll go out and do a shoot on a Saturday, but we don't. I still make a very good living from the tour business. And I've been asked, hey, do you work Saturdays? No, we don't work Saturdays. Our photographers work very, very hard Monday through Friday, and we give them their weekends because everybody needs to recharge the batteries. And we'll shoot on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday through till Friday, but not on the weekends. And it's never hurt. It's never ever hurt me whatsoever in terms of being a good business. That's it. And I want my photographers to have that rest, to know that when they come in on a Monday, that they're fresh for 5 days. They'll work hard during those 5 days, or could work hard, not always. Sometimes they have an easy day. But they always know they got their weekends off. You've got to recharge your batteries. You have to. You've got to. You will burn out. And I learned that because I burnt out in real estate. Made an awful lot of money, but I burnt out completely. It was one of life's lessons. Right there was that you got to come off the gas at some point. You can't just have your foot on the throttle, go, because you will burn out.
Let me flip that around, because here's a scenario that I hear quite frequently when I talk to members of the We Get Around Network forum about outsourcing is, I'm not so busy. So I'll think about outsourcing to photo and video edits.com when I'm so busy that I can't handle it. But today, I don't shoot enough that I feel like I should outsource.
Well, and you know what? I'm going to be absolutely 100% honest here. If you're only shooting, one property a day, I can fully understand that, why would you've got plenty of time left over to do the actual edit yourself. So this, we're probably not for you because you're not shooting enough properties, doing one property a day on average. So no, we're probably not. You've got plenty of time left over if you're if you're sitting there watching the TV after you've done the shoot and after you've done an edit for one day, then no, we're probably not why spend the money when you don't have to, because you've got time on your hands.
Well, you
But
surprised me with your answer because I could imagine you might say, well,
it
every
depends what your aspirations are, though. You see, if you're aspiring to be very, very busy, and be a busy photographer, then I'll give you a different answer then, because you really need to be spending your time going out there seeking more business.
well, let
That's
me
where
let me let me try that again. Here, we'll give you scenario 3. Hey, Colin, I'm a real estate photographer. I aspire to be a very busy business, but at the moment, I'm just shooting one house, two houses a day. Uh, I just don't see spending the money on outsourcing because I have a lot of time.
right. Well, your time is best spent going out and getting more business than it is sitting there editing photos. You've got to say to yourself, well, what do I value my time at per hour? Where do I want to be? What do I want to make? And if that answer is I want to make $40 an hour and I want to work 8 hours a day, that's $320 per day, times five, $1,600 per week, if that's what you're happy with, and that's your goal. Then you've got to set your time at $40 an hour. If to edit 30 photos takes you 2 hours, well, then it truly has cost you $80. And people may argue with that, but that's how the business world works. They'll break it down into that, and they'll say, well, that's really cost you $80 to do that, to do those edits. And if it's only actually cost you, say, $30 because you're on a $1,200 plan, a 1,200 credit plan with me, $1 a photo, then you've spent $50 more on your time than you would have done if you'd have given it to somebody else, because your time is more valuable at your $40 an hour going out seeking more business to get your business going. There's no question about that.
Cool. So, before I move on, any other reasons that someone who's presently a power user of editing their own photos and videos should outsource?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give up. I think a lot of the time that's just because people have trouble releasing control and giving it to others, and that's something that you've got to get past. And it is a tough thing to get past that. But once you do, and you realize, and as you said, Dan, if you send them off to the photographer, the real estate agent, and they're not saying anything and they're happy, that when you start seeing that makes you realize, hey, this isn't so bad after all. And even if you did get a request or two, you just send us the request and we fix it. The customer's still happy at the end of the day. So, stop fussing and get more time back with your family, dog, girlfriend, whatever, and work smarter, not harder.
Cool. So I think that kind of brings us that we have a couple special offers for We Get Around Network forum members and some special offer for We Get Around Network basic, standard, and premium members. So I thought I would just go through those offers. If you are a We Get Around Network basic, standard, or premium member, you will receive 50 extra credits in your first month and 35 extra credits in month 2 through 12. And if I've done my math right, that comes out to 435 credits. And if we just make an assumption that each of those credits is worth $1, they could be worth 75 cents. It could be worth, $1.50, but let's just say $1. It's $435 that Colin is offering to We Get Around Network basic, standard, and premium members that are clients of photoandvideoedits.com. So
Yeah.
when you join, first of all, when you join photoandvideoedits.com, you're going to get 50 free credits anyway, and that will let you try enough to do up to to edit a batch of photos. 1 credit equals 1 photo edited. So that's enough to edit 50 photos. You can certainly, put your toe in the water and take photo and video edits.com for a spin. But assuming you're happy and you're a basic standard or premium member and you sign up for a photo and video edits.com account, then Colin is
Plan.
going to credit your account. Not, in fact, what he's going to do first is that when you do that first test and you sign up, you're going to get another 50 credits automatically
That's
as a
for the non.
client.
That's for the. Yeah, I think you get a little mixed up there. That's for the non-standard, for not that's for people that are not members of you. They'll get 50 free. They'll get 50 credits as one time. For members, paying once they for your members, once they they'll get their 50 free credits, and then once they sign up for any plan, whether it be a 200 credit plan, 1,000 credit plan, whatever it is, then they'll get 35 additional credits every single month for the next 11 months after.
Forgive me. Thanks for clearing that up. So 35 times 12 would be 350, and 70 is 420 credits, if I'm doing that right. So
Yeah.
essentially, you're willing to give 400. Let's just pick a number. It's easier to understand it. Just say, let's pick a number. It's $420. So as a basic standard or premium member, you're essentially getting $420 as long as you have signed up with photo and video edits.com. With a paid monthly subscription. Now, if you haven't joined yet as a basic standard or premium member, you're a forum member, which we call a starter member. You're a We Get Around Network forum member, which we call starter member. Then you will first automatically get 50 credits when you sign up at photovideoedits.com. And then when you sign up for an account, a subscription with photo and video edits.com as a We Get Around Network We Get Around Network forum member, you're going to get 50 extra credits. So essentially, it's kind of like Colin is writing you a check for $100 to test drive photo and video edits.com. It's a very aggressive offer. Colin feels like you really need to do a batch or two of images. 50 credits is certainly enough to edit at least one video and probably 15 photos as well. So essentially, if you do 50 credits when you sign up and you get another 50 credits, it's enough to do 1 or 2 videos plus photos and really kind of feel like you've experienced photo and video edits.com. I know I'm a little bit tired, Colin. If I said that all correctly?
No, you've said that dead right. That's absolutely correct.
Cool. So if as a week, so let me just see if I can just kind of summarize how to get these 2 offers. First, if you are not presently a We Get Around Network forum member, simply join and you'll automatically get a link in the welcome email that you automatically get from me when you join the forum. Frankly, when you join the forum, you get about 20 membership benefits. This happens to be one of the membership benefits. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, you can, it's We Get Around Network Forum.com. You can also type in WGAN Forum.com. Again, just simply join the We Get Around Network forum. You'll automatically get a welcome email from me, and you'll get a link that then takes you to get the special promo code for photo and video edits.com. And if you are already a basic standard or premium member, thank you. Just simply go to your welcome on board letter, look for photo and video edits.com. You'll see an order form to get the promo code for that. And if you're not already a basic standard or premium member, please do join. There's 40 plus membership benefits. This happens to be one of them. You can join as a standard member, www.joinstandard.com. Anyway, thank you for indulging me on that. And thank you for those special offers for our members. We really do appreciate it, Colin.
No problem at all.
Cool. Is there anything else we should cover about photo and video edits.com?
No, I think we've just about covered. It all. There was that one thing that it's just slipped my mind. I just can't pull it out of my head at the moment.
Next show, and plus we'll have you back on the show. So, hey, Colin, thank you for joining me today as my guest on the We Get Around Network, WGAN-TV live at 5.
Thank you very much for having me again, Dan.
Thank you, Colin. And thank you for tuning in. You've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5. If you missed any portion of today's program, we have been recording the show. By tomorrow, Thursday, October 25th, 2018. We'll post it in the We Get Around Network forum. Again, WeGetAroundNetworkForum.com or WGANForum.com. I'm Dan Smagrod, founder of the forum. Thanks for tuning in. And bear with me one second, Colin.